Well, success is a really a feeling you get when you've achieved your objectives. And failure is the feeling you get when you haven't. But failure can be viewed as an opportunity, namely you learn something. Well, I certainly wouldn't want to be a dinosaur or an elephant. I'd rather be seen as a jaguar, very fast animal. The person whose ideas I most admire in business is the late Peter Drucker. I learned so much from him, and he was just phenomenal in inventing and tilting our understanding of management and success in management and so on. I like to listen to Chopin in the background. You know, when people ask, is there any strategy left to be a winner? In the past, it was heavy advertising and creative commercials and so on. And I say, yes, there are winning strategies, and the evidence of that are winning companies. So let me mention what the 5 or 6 winning strategies are. First, I would say being able to charge the lowest price and give a great value is gonna win, and that is the case of Walmart. It is the case of Costco. It is the case of IKEA in the furniture business. I'm talking about, it's the case of Southwest Airlines. These are all companies that have found a creative way to bring down the cost of running their business and therefore bring down the price they charge to us. And as you know, there are many segments of any market, and price, people who buy on price are growing in numbers, especially if they don't see much difference among the offers. So one strategy is the low-cost strategy. A second strategy is to have the best quality product, the one rated as being the gold standard. So there we would name Toyota. Its cars are so reliable. And we could name in almost every category the company, well, even Procter & Gamble. You know their toothpaste is going to be very good. You know their detergent is going to clean very well. The third strategy is to be a highly innovative product company, that you continue to you have a culture of creativity. It's like the 3M company or the Sony company, where they're not going to rest on their current portfolio of products. They're going to be investing in new ones, and with some great success. Another strategy is called innovating the business model itself. It hasn't got anything to do with the product. For example, whoever thought we would have a bookstore where you could go in and you'll have tables and chairs like in a library, and you'd be able to get your coffee, Starbucks coffee. You could meet your friends there. There's pastry. At night you can go socially, since the place is open from something like 9 in the morning to 11 at night, and hear a lecture or hear a concert. That is called reinventing the business model, and that's another strategy. I would add, as still another strategy, what we call experiential marketing. Don't think it's just the product that you're selling. You're really creating a memorable experience that your competitors cannot duplicate. For example, if you're selling outdoor wear for either climbing mountains or being in a jungle, the best thing you can do is put into your store a mountain, so they could try out the clothes and climb the mountain. So they don't put in a mountain, they put in a climbing wall. And they do put in a rainforest. How do you do that? You have a big shower, basically. Well, that's an experience. It is so much better to see if the clothes really work in real situations. So that's another strategy. Get away from the product itself, but create an atmosphere and a set of experiences. The last strategy, and it's not necessarily the last, but I would mention the role of design is getting increasingly important. That people respond to very well-designed products. And design is a bigger idea than style. Style just is how does it look. Design is from the moment you get it, it's easy to open the box, to pull out the computer, to plug it in, to learn how to use it. You've thought through the consumer steps that make the experience wonderful. Well, I can list a number of major problems that are challenging marketers, and I can't even order them in the degree of difficulty because they are haunting all of our managers. The first one is it's so hard to reach people today. Many years ago, most of the audience would watch 1 or 2 programs and you could feel safe to buy a program and reach thousands of people. Now there's maybe 50, 100, 150 channels, and not only are there so many channels, but people aren't that interested in watching them. They're busy doing aerobics, and they are also on their computer, they're playing video games. So getting a nanosecond of attention from someone who you want to send a message to is increasingly difficult. So the answer is that we have to invent new ways to reach people with our messages. That's one problem. The second problem is even the media that we're using, even the new media, very hard to prove their ROI, their return on investment. In other words, how effective is a 30-second commercial? How effective is a direct mail piece? Now, incidentally, direct mail is more measurable than a 30-second commercial. But still, there's the problem of knowing what we are getting back for all the cost we are putting into our campaigns. That's a problem. The third problem is how do you make your offer different from someone else who is able to copy it if it's that good? In fact, some people say, I'm trying to invent new products, and when I succeed, it only lasts a short time because someone else will find out how to do the same thing, which means there's increasing commoditization or homogenization of the offerings. When the offerings are the same, you'll buy on price. And in fact, one of the things we're noticing is that customers are better informed than ever before. They are able to go on the internet, get as much information about the competitors, and the result is that they're going to be buying on value. So the company that's going to win today is the one that has packaged superior value. And that doesn't mean a superior price. I mean, Walmart is a low price, but a superior overall offering to the target market. In summary, there are all kinds of things happening, and I haven't even mentioned the proliferation of new channels of distribution, international competitors who are coming from nowhere with lower costs, lower labor costs, lower prices. So the marketer of today has got to be a giant in creativity and in discipline. You know, in terms of saying that some companies or most companies are having difficulty, that doesn't mean there are not creative companies that have done marvelous things. I mean, I would only list as modern wonders of the times companies such as the Apple company and how it rejuvenated itself through introducing not only the Apple book but the iPod, and has pushed the iPod through so many new stages. I would mention what can be done with a common drink like coffee. And whoever thought that Starbucks would come along and have millions of people paying $3 or $4 a cup of coffee. I would say Richard Branson, when he opens up a new virgin business in any category, it could be in banking, it could be in airlines or railroads or cola, does wonders. So I'm not pessimistic about some marketers being able to come up with new formulas, reinventing not only marketing, but reinventing the business that they are focusing on. Let me point out that you got to be careful about the 6 or 7 strategies. Some cannot be paired together, and in addition, sometimes you're going to realize whatever strategy you're working on. Sometimes you're going to realize that the strategy that you're working on is no longer interesting to the customers. One that has fascinated me is what I might call organized buzz marketing. Buzz is a word for word of mouth, and word of mouth has been going on forever. I'm sure that the snake tells Eve to like the apple, and then Eve tells Adam. So word of mouth, face-to-face communication is very effective. However, it's being organized now, and in the following way. The Procter & Gamble has put together some thousands of women who will be given samples of a new product, and they are free samples. And P&G will say, if you like the product, we would like you to talk about it to others. But if you don't like the product or don't want to bother, that's fine too. So this gives them some word of mouth generation. Now this is even more organized by a company called BZZZ Marketing, which has actually put together different armies of buzzers. They have college buzzers, they have senior citizen buzzers, and they, again, are given free samples, and being given free samples, they're told only to buzz about it to friends and acquaintances if they like the product, and then to write up notes on how much buzzing they're doing. So I think that's an attempt to capture what is the most effective thing, not advertising, but word of mouth talk about a product. You know, people are curious about, is marketing being used to the full extent and its potential, or is it being confined to a very narrow use? And I'm afraid to say, I'm sorry to say, that companies have a very limited view of marketing. They think marketing is essentially selling and advertising. I know some CEOs who only think their marketing department is supposed to put out brochures and ads. It turns out that there are other CEOs who have a more advanced understanding, and at least they see marketing as the 4 Ps. In other words, they want the marketing group to build a plan that would set the product features, the prices, the places and distribution, and the promotion. So in that case, that's a more enlightened view, but there's even a more enlightened view that marketers are there to segment the market, find some new opportunities, prepare a plan to launch something new, work very closely with the R&D people and the engineers. Now that is the most enlightened picture of marketing. And I would say the sad thing is that the potential of the marketers to actually create tomorrow's markets for the company is being neglected. Marketing can play a very strong role in influencing the growth of the revenue. And in fact, I've been saying recently that maybe the marketing should be renamed the revenue management function. Just like there is a cost management function carried out by the chief financial officer, you want someone to carry out the building of the revenue line, making it grow. And of course, the major platform for making any revenue line grow would be your marketing and sales. So I would say that the potential of marketing to contribute to the company's revenue and growth has always been there, but is not sufficiently recognized by a lot of senior management. In fact, sometimes senior management would say, I'm not sure what marketing is doing, but I do know I need my sales force, because my sales force is getting the orders, and that's what counts. You know, in companies that are very broad with many brands or divisions, you've got to ask as a senior manager or a CEO, what's our skill level in marketing? Are our skills up to date? The answer is best obtained by appointing someone we call a Chief Marketing Officer, a CMO, who has about 4 or 5 responsibilities. You would want this CMO to be at the corporate level. And by the way, to be part of the strategy making process and the policy making process. In other words, just like the CFO is part of it and the Chief Innovation Officer is part of it, I'd like the CMO to be part of it. But specifically, the CMO should first of all assess the quality of marketing skills and thinking in the organization, because there will be some updating needed, reskilling, we call it reskilling. Secondly, the role of the CMO is to make sure the company is customer-centered rather than product-centered, because those people in manufacturing, those people in other areas, they're going to think not of the customer so much as their own immediate context, but how do you get them all to realize that the bills are being paid by the customer? No customers, no money, no employees. So that's a second job, to sell customer centricity or centeredness to the company. The third is to find new growth opportunities. The CMO should work very closely with the innovation and R&D people to think about what I call upstream marketing, not downstream. Downstream marketing is the pushing out of your products through brochures and advertising and the sales force and so on. Upstream marketing is to think about what will the market look like 3 to 5 years from now. If you're going to make an automobile, it takes you 3 or 4 years to do that, so you better figure out what people will want, and that's a guess, but you better think about maybe a shift. People may want more quality, people may want more online electronics in their car, they may want trays so they could eat in their car, whatever. You have to have some people within the marketing group assigned to analyze and forecast the nature of the market 3 to 5 years out. And so the CMO is also involved in that. There's a lot of value that CMOs can bring to a company's thinking. You know, in searching for a CMO, you might, in such a large company, and I'm thinking of a General Electric or an IBM, a P&G, select one of the people who now is a vice president of marketing within a division, who has such good ideas. You hate to pull that person out of the work they're doing because they're obviously so effective, but they, with their experience, may be the kind of person to be put in the CMO position and so on. The kinds of traits you want, well, you want a lot of marketing experience, a very good reputation of working well with sales, of working well with finance, of working up what we call accountability approaches. In other words, showing how measurements can be made of the marketing activities that they are engaged in. And you know, good personality and the other things that there should be a good ability to work well with people. And then that's your CMO. In every career, some people keep growing and being inventive, and other people get locked into a perspective that doesn't match the times. I always say that markets are changing faster than marketing. So in that case, we will have to keep sending our marketing people back to school. For example, there are new things we need to know in a marketing operation. We need to know more about how to use the internet. And there may be no one on the staff who grew up that way. Probably you should get a young person who's been trained in computers. We need to figure out how to do more product placement, street level marketing, a whole bunch of newer things. How do you build a virtual community of people engaged in your product, really engaged, and like in the famous case of Harley Davidson, how engaged customers using that motorbike are with each other and with the company. So I'm not worried that someone with a lot of experience will be blind to what can be done. You have to always put that person out into new situations, and you'll be able to tell. Well, the good news about the relationship between marketing and finance is that it's, and the fact there may be a difficult relation, is that it's true of finance and every other function in the company, because finance has the money. So even manufacturing might be unhappy with them, and purchasing may be unhappy. But you want a good finance person in every company. Now, in the case of marketing and finance, the finance person keeps asking, what did we get for that campaign? What was the ROI? Because the finance person thinks in terms of standard financial measures: return on investment, return on assets, asset turnover, economic value added, shareholder value. That's the language. And by the way, I believed for a long time that marketers need to learn finance. It's been missing from their education. In fact, sometimes I even think that the reason people go to marketing is they want to run away from numbers. The fact is that people in marketing, like other people, they want to be in the battlefield. They want to make things happen. But they've got to learn the numbers and these words. That will help the finance and the marketing people work better together. I'm not saying it's going to be easy to measure ROI. And I'm not even saying that our ROI is the best measure. It's very short term as a measure. And a lot of marketing works over time. So it really may not capture what the true value has been of a campaign that got people to really think deeply about another company. I've sometimes put this question to people, to marketers. If you were given a new office in the company, would you like the office to be located next to the chief financial officer? Sometimes they say, no, I want to be located next to the sales group, because marketing and sales. A few brave souls say, I want to be located next to the CEO, because they want to educate the CEO to understand what they're doing. I think that's important to be next to this finance person, because he or she is doing the job that has to be done. What are we getting back for our money? And so by them sitting next to each other, they can work up metrics, and there are all kinds of metrics that could be agreed upon, and therefore sharing the same financial language, the same metrics, the marketer will find it easier to get money from, he's always asking for a budget for marketing, and to the extent that the marketer can show impact, the marketer will have an easier time. I believe that regularly scheduled meetings would work for marketing and for finance because they're all busy people. Without scheduling a meeting on a regular basis, they may miss a lot. I think that marketing and sales also, for a number of reasons, have to schedule regular meetings. You know, marketing and sales, a lot of people think that they are the same, but they aren't. In a company, they're separate groups, and maybe two separate. The larger group is usually sales. In fact, if it's a business-to-business company that is selling aircraft or selling trucks and so on, sales gets the orders. Marketing is there to, in many cases, help sales get the orders. In fact, some people will say in a very simple way, marketing's job is to build the brand, and sales' job is to get the orders. Now, what happens when there is a disappointing amount of sales, a decline in sales performance? I've often noticed that there is an excuse-making period where the salespeople say, well, it wasn't our fault. The prices were too high that were set by the marketing people. Or they didn't give us the right brochures, or the ads aren't that good. And then the marketing people obviously are going to say, you know, the salespeople are good people, but they don't stick to the plan. They don't stick to our core value proposition, which is, see, they discount. Immediately they go into discounting and doing other things. The brochures are very good, they just don't know how to use them. We have a good information system, they don't use it very much. So there are some legitimate and illegitimate complaints that the two groups have about each other. We did a study of this relationship that's quite tense between sales and marketing, and found that that it's better in some companies and not so bad in others, and worse in some others. What we did is we divided our findings into 4 states of relationship. We found some companies that have this problem. They have not defined what marketing is supposed to do and what sales is supposed to do. The reason is sales was originally in the company and marketing was added on, and in adding it on, they didn't figure out what it's supposed to do. That's called an undefined relationship, and it causes a lot of overlap, wasted time, and conflict. Then we finally said, how about a defined relationship? Why don't you sit down together and define what you're supposed to do and they're supposed to do? And by that, I mean in terms of a process. So marketing people now in such a company will have the steps in a process. It will be clear to the salespeople. The salespeople's steps in a process will be clear to the marketing people. Now, even if there's a good definition of what they're supposed to do, sometimes we find they're not aligned. It takes an attitude, and we call that alignment. And when they get aligned, then they're working well together. They're having regularly scheduled meetings. And then maybe the ultimate is if they were in a integrated relationship. They were both rewarded for accomplishment, and in a sense, questions will be raised when they don't, as a unit, accomplish this. In other words, develop a system and a set of processes whereby marketing and salespeople work together because they're both going to be valued, or they're both going to be asked about the performance instead of them finger pointing.